The problem is a lack of job creation. It's not so much the layoffs. What do? Well, you have to persuade the entrepreneurs that now is a better time to invest than it was before. Take a look at what the small businesses told the National Federation of Independent Businesses were their top three problems. Number one is the economy, but number two was taxes, and number three was government regulations and red tape. Well, Congress can't do too much more than it's doing right now about the economy, but it has direct control over the taxes and the red tape that businesses face. Think about it. If you're an entrepreneur, you know that taxes are probably going to go up, but you don't know how much they're going to go up. You know that we've got hundreds of billions of dollars in new spending on the stimulus and the current budget that's being proposed. And who's the most attractive target come tax time to hit up to pay for this enormous deficit bill we've got? Well, it's a successful business owner. If you're one of the quote-unquote rich, if you put all your money into this operation and you strike it rich and you have a very successful business, or your small business becomes a big business because you've done so well, well, the government wants to come and hit you up, and you're going to be, since you're just a small minority of the population, come voting time, it's very easy to decide to say, all right, we vote to tax the rich and not tax me. The problem is that gives people a disincentive to risk their money, to risk their time, to take all that effort if you know the government's going to come and take it away from you. So a very strong step Congress could do right now is say, no new taxes. On top of that, Congress should be saying no new regulations. The Environmental Protection Agency, regulating carbon dioxide, could add tremendously to the costs of almost every business in the country. The businesses have no idea exactly how much the costs are going to go up. They just know that something really bad is on the way. What's that do to your incentive to invest? You don't know what your costs are going to be 3 years from now. Just hang on to your capital. This makes no sense right now. Near 10% unemployment. Let's have the EPA say that no. The Clean Air Act was never intended to have the EPA regulate virtually every business in America. Even right now as I'm breathing, I'm emitting CO2. CO2 is so common, this is not a pollutant, and we're not going to have the EPA asserting regulatory control over almost every business in the country. In this downturn, we've also got a very large, which economists call structural component. We had a housing bubble. There were a lot of workers in construction. Well, it turns out houses weren't worth quite as much as people thought. We had an overinvestment. It was a bubble, not a real increase. Or similarly with the financial sector. We had way too much investment in the financial sector. Lehman Brothers and those big investment banks, those aren't coming back. So those construction workers or those finance sector workers are probably not going to find jobs in the finance sector or in the construction sector. Those are going to be permanently smaller sectors. Structurally, the economy has shifted away from the finance sector and away from construction. Those workers are going to have to train for jobs in new industries. There's a number of existing federal job training programs. The workers are going to have to take their skills and look elsewhere. It may involve looking for a job in a different state. It's probably going to be a very painful transition for a lot of them. Moving away from family and friends, moving into a sector where you have less experience, particularly these guys who used to be on Wall Street in the finance sector, they're not going to be getting $500,000 paychecks anymore. A lot of them are going to take huge cuts in their standards of living. We have unemployment insurance benefits that the workers can collect for a time. If anything, in the hardest hit states, it's now up to 2 years you can collect unemployment insurance benefits, and that's probably too generous. It's very easy for workers to not want to accept that those finance jobs, those construction jobs are not going to come back. You don't want to believe that. And for some of those workers, some of the construction jobs will come back. Some of the finance jobs will, just not most of them. So there's some workers who will be able to look and find a new job in construction, but most won't. As long as you've got these unemployment insurance benefits, though, it makes it very easy to put off that day of reckoning. It's the thing workers want to do, is to imagine that you can get things back to where they were before the downturn. And so they keep looking for a job in their city, in their state, in what they used to do. When for many of the millions of workers who are unemployed right now, what they need to do is probably move to a different state, move to a different sector, start training for a job in a new industry, or start looking for ways that they can apply the skills that they have right now to a different industry. It's going to be just a shift that we have in where jobs are in the economy, and workers are going to have to adjust, and in many cases that's going to be a painful transition.